This is a regular Ravens fan coming back at you. And I wanted to make a video different today. I wanted to try something new. So bear with me, people, bear with me. I always tell you all to trust your eyes. And with this video, I want to show you exactly why I tell you that. I want you to listen to the national media paint narratives on different young quarterbacks as to whether or not they should get their contracts. And as we all know, regular Ravens fan is definitely a Ravens fan. I'm definitely a Lamar Jackson supporter. So this video is definitely to support Lamar Jackson. I want you all to listen to the difference the national media paints narratives as it pertains to young quarterbacks getting paid. One of them is not so young anymore, but the first one you're going to hear about is going to be Kirk Cousins down in Minnesota. Then I'm going to let you hear about Carson Wentz, Jared Goff. Then we're going to switch gears to Dak Prescott and Lamar Jackson. Now listen, the regular Ravens fan, I come here, I strictly talk my points on sports and what your eyes tell you. But just pay attention to the narratives these national media members paint of these different quarterbacks. You think about what's the difference of these quarterbacks, right? And you think about what you've seen these quarterbacks accomplish on the field and off the field. And also, let your eyes tell you what's really going on. I'm not going to speak on it because I don't really like going there. I like to keep it about what's on the field. Nevertheless, this is how the national media does it. And I keep telling you people, it has a purpose. If it didn't have a purpose, it wouldn't be so many shows on TV. So here we go. Like I said, first up, Kirk Cousins.
You're telling me you're going to take care of me no matter what. And with a guy like Kirk Cousins, if he ends up there, if this is set, he fits everything what the Vikings are trying to do.
Okay.
His personality, I love the personality match with he and Mike Zimmer. I think they're both fiery guys. They both have an edge about them that they feel like they always have something to prove. Even if they have some success, it's like I still yet have some more to prove. And then with the weapons around him, he has solid perimeter guys, a tight end that's going to be sure-handed, a young running back, an offensive line that jumped leaps and bounds. And I haven't even mentioned the defense yet. Like, this is a great situation for Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings. New facility, new face of your franchise. I mean, I love everything about this deal. Most importantly, the fully guaranteed deal. This will change the way contracts are laid out. This is why...
I want to stop it right there, people. Remember, I know you all say on the screen 3 years for $28 million per year, and you would say, well, now it's not that much. Keep in mind, people, when Kirk Cousins signed this deal, it made him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Just remember that. And also remember all of the things he just said. His personality. You know, he's a fiery guy. All of the weapons he has around him, including the offensive line and the defense, right? And then think about what your eyes told you Kirk Cousins did on the field. But they supported Kirk Cousins, who before he got to Minnesota, never won anything in Washington. Never won more than, I think, 7 or 8 games in a season. Okay, we all know the NFC East is pretty bad, so you could be pretty high up the rankings in the NFCs, but he never won. Maybe he had a 9-7 season. I'm not too sure. I know he's never won 10 games in his NFL career with Washington. So they supported making Kirk Cousins the highest paid player in the NFL at that time. And remember all of the things that Greg Jennings just laid out about the weapons around him. What has Kirk Cousins done with those weapons? But I have a cause for pause, so I'm going to pause real quick, and we're going to go to the next quarterback. Next quarterback, Carson Wentz. Here we go. Now we're going to have Nick Wright speaking on Carson Wentz. Again, listen to the words and the narrative that they paint for the support of Carson Wentz getting his money.
Gamble on health than ability. The gamble with Carson Wentz is health. We're going to do it when we talk about other quarterbacks that might get paid early. The gamble is, what is their ability? How good can they be? We know how good Carson Wentz can be. Now, we haven't seen him in the playoffs, and there's always the chance that the moment's just too big for you. I think that's more, to be honest, an NBA thing than an NFL thing. I think every single NFL game is so important that if you can perform at an MVP level in the regular season, the idea that you're going to get to the playoffs and be some wilting flower and say, oh my God, I can't handle the moment, I find that to be unlikely. Carson's has shown top-level quarterback ability. I have that Matt Ryan chart. He is way near the top of it. But the injury questions are not isolated. In college, he broke his wrist. His first training camp in the NFL, he cracked his ribs. His second year in the NFL, he shattered his knee. His third year in the NFL, he had a stress fracture in his back. And by the way, not his first stress fracture in his back. They discovered when he was in college, he had suffered a stress fracture in his back that went undiagnosed as a kid. So we're talking about year after year, this guy has gotten hurt playing football. And so it is a gamble. This is not the quarterback you draft number 2, turns into a star. You're obviously going to pay him because there are no red flags. There is a red flag. And it is, for some people, they feel very differently than me. I'd rather take the quarterback that has a limited ceiling, but I know is going to be out there, that I know is going to be able to play all 16 games. I'll bet on the upside of Carson Wentz, but the downside is not.
Again, think about all of the things that Nick Wright just laid out. All of those injuries, right? But because Carson Wentz had one 11-game stretch of his career where he played brilliant, and I'm not taking nothing away from no NFL player because I can't do what they do. But he did have one 11-game stretch in the beginning of his career. Remember, before NFL defenses figure you out, remember they say that about another young quarterback? Wait till they figure him out. Nevertheless, he did have an 11-game stretch where he played brilliant. He was an MVP candidate. That is on his resume. But those injuries are also already on his resume. Support for him to get money. I'd rather gamble on your injuries versus your ability. Keep that in mind, people. These are the things that the national media has told you over the years. Right? Now we're going to switch gears to Jared Goff. All right, people. Next up, we got Jared Goff. Look at the graphic on your screen, right? And just see what these two players, Jared Goff and Dak Prescott, who will be our next quarterback. Look at their win percentage, their total QBR, and their completion percentage, right? This is their NFL ranks before Jared Goff got his contract, right? Well, right when he got his contract. I'm sorry, as soon as he got his contract. You see that Dak Prescott is better than him in every one of these 3 categories I have on the screen. I want to say one thing before we start. I'm excluding Mike Greenberg from my hate of the national media because I think this dude has been consistent. I think this dude has been honest. I respect Mike Greenberg. Just want to put that out there. This is no shade to Mike Greenberg or any shade to any of the other guys on the panel for real, because I understand that these things are pushed by the people who tell them what to talk about. But it comes from somewhere. So here we go. Roll the tape. This is how they feel about Jared Goff. And remember what your eyes showed you about Jared Goff after he got his contract, when the defenses figure him out, and after Todd Gurley fell off a cliff.
$4 million, $110 million of that is guaranteed according to Adam Schefter. And just some food for thought as we take a look at this here. Part of the reason why the Rams decided to give Goff all that money is the fact that he wins games. Since 2017, the year after his rookie season where he was 0-7, he has turned it around. He's won 24 games over the last 2 years. That's tied with Drew Brees and Tom Brady for the most in the league. Now, there were 2 different ways to me of looking at this contract. One of them is he's a good quarterback. He was next in line, and that's just sort of the way this thing goes. But the other is I feel like he has alternated in his career between being the guy who, when Jeff Fisher was his coach, looked like he was on his way to being a bust, to a guy who has become a product of Sean McVay's genius. So I guess I would ask, and I'm always hesitant to use this word, was he worth the money they're now paying him?
I think he's absolutely worth it because it's hard to disentangle who gets the credit. We can say that maybe Todd Gurley's the reason why he's good. We can say that maybe it's all because of Sean McVay, but the fact of the matter is they went to the Super Bowl last year and he was the quarterback. So it's impossible. You set your franchise back if you start moving on from a guy like that. I am surprised, however, that they paid him as much as they did because they didn't even have to wait another offseason for him to up the quarterback market. You normally have to do that, particularly with a quarterback like him who's not a top of the league quarterback. We all know that.
You know, Dom,
Again, people, listen to what he said. We could say it's because of Jared Goff. We could say it's because of Sean McVay. But, he was on this team that played good, and he is worth his money. He was worth his money. That's what they said to you all. What have our eyes shown us since then? Our eyes have shown us that Jared Goff, along with Carson Wentz, have both been traded. So both of these quarterbacks were worth their money, deserve their contracts, before they even hit their 5th-year options of their rookie contracts, yet they all deserve their money. That's what the national media has told us, people. And then what have our eyes shown us? That these guys aren't really that good. These guys can't carry a team on their own. But wait, that's what a good quarterback's supposed to do. Remember all of the weapons that were around Kirk Cousins. Remember Carson Wentz, injury-prone career, not season, career. Remember Jared Goff, genius of Sean McVay. Todd Gurley leading the league in rushing the year they went to the Super Bowl. That's what happened. But this is what the national media said about their contracts. We're going to switch gears a little bit because now we're going to go to Dak Prescott. How did the national media feel about Dak Prescott? And I'm going to be honest, people. I'm using different excerpts from different people because I'm showing you the overall national media opinion of these quarterbacks. But here we go with Dak Prescott. Let's just roll the tape.
A lot of people to pay. They've got Zeke to consider in a little bit. They've got Amari Cooper, several guys, but Dak is their quarterback. So my next question for you guys is when? When should the Cowboys extend his contract?
Not a second before they have to. I want to wait as long as they possibly
Wait?
can, and that includes entering the season if I have to.
Wow.
I'm not sold that Dak is the great player like a Russell Wilson who can win games by himself.
Wow.
Pieces around him good. He's a good player. To make a $30 million check that his comps dictate, I don't think it's worth it. I think it will neuter the rest of the team. I'd like to see more. Here's the easy part. If Dak comes out and he's great and he's thriving and they're 4-1 or 6, pay him right there. You're a guy, we're going in. But if they come out and they're 2-3 and he's not playing well, don't you want to have that in your back pocket still? You can wait as long as you want. And if he's not good this year, you still sign him, but you get him for much, much less of much more leverage. I would wait as long as possible.
Again, that's what this is. This, remember, people, that really was the overwhelming sentiment on Dak Prescott. That's the shit he get paid. Yes, you did have some banter back and forth. Some guys supported him, and I'm not discounting that. But there was always this. Dak Prescott, because remember, Kirk Cousins, it was about all of the weapons he had around him. That's why you should pay him. Dak Prescott, the overwhelming feeling was, well, you shouldn't pay him because you've got Zeke and you've got Amari Cooper and you've got all of these things, and is it really Dak or is it these other guys? But that wasn't the case for Kirk Cousins. You know, Dak Prescott has only had one injury in his entire career, just one, and that was last year. Before that, Dak Prescott won Rookie of the Year, led his team to 2 division titles. Sounds like another quarterback I know in his first 3 years leading his team to 2 division titles. Dak Prescott has won a playoff game. Sound like another quarterback I know has won a playoff game in his first 3 years. Dak Prescott has been exemplary off the field, has been exemplary on the field. And we all saw with our eyes what happened when Dak Prescott was removed from the equation of the Dallas Cowboys. What happened, people? The Cowboys fell flat on their face, directly contradicting the fact of, I don't know if it's him or Zeke. I don't know if it's him or Amari Cooper. They were all still there. The only thing that was removed was that quarterback. That quarterback was taken out. You inserted another quarterback in, which proves you can't just put any driver in that seat to make that car go. And we saw what happened. Our eyes didn't lie to us. That was the only thing removed from that offense last year was Dak Prescott. If anybody wants to say, well, the offensive line wasn't always there, they weren't always there during Dak Prescott's first 3 years either. They were not. Their offensive linemen have stayed in flux since they all got paid. They stayed up and down, up and down, up and down. And Dak maneuvered those waters and kept that team in contention. Each and every year he was the starter. He had won 2 division titles. Yet, I would wait as long as I could to pay him. I'm not sold on him yet. This is the way the national media portrays it. So now we're going to switch gears to the next quarterback on my list, which is Baker Mayfield, who's in the same draft class as Lamar Jackson because these other quarterbacks weren't. So let's see how they feel about Baker Mayfield. Okay, my guy who's going to be a part of my next 2 segments, my guy Emanuel Acho, who, by the way, young fella, I love what you do as far as being a man who has taken yourself and risen to financial security, who has parlayed your brief NFL career into a very good secondary career. I applaud you because you're doing something with your real life That isn't about what I'm talking about right now. So let me just put that out there, people. I don't hate Emanuel Acho. I actually applaud him. I actually look to him as an example of people that when one door closes, you kick in another one. But nevertheless, this is about football. And here's how he feels about Baker Mayfield, who's in the same draft class as Lamar Jackson. And then we're going to see how he feels about Lamar. But let's go over how he feels about Baker.
So what I've learned about life, what I've learned about relationships, what I've learned about all these things is the market dictates your value.
The market dictates your value.
From Cleveland Browns perspective, what's the Browns market for another quarterback? Because that would dictate Baker Mayfield's value.
Excuse me, people.
You may be able to get rejected by an A-list actress, if you will, because several other options, a plethora of other options that may somehow, some way, exceed Marcellus Wiley. But to the Z-list actress, if we shall, that can't necessarily get any other options, that can't get any other options that can exceed Marcellus Wiley, you better be happy with what you have. Marcellus, I look at the Browns and the history of the Browns. What free agent quarterbacks have they found over the years? Brian Hoyer, Jeff Garcia, Trent Dilfer, Josh McCown, RG3, Jason Campbell.
Be happy with what you have.
Doug Peterson, if we're going back here, Seneca Wallace. Sal, you're not attracting a whole bunch of great quarterback options to go play in Cleveland in free agency. So what's your other option? Draft a quarterback, kind of like you did with Baker Mayfield, your first round, number 1 overall pick, who, by the way, won 11 games, first time since 94, made the playoffs, first time since 2002, won a playoff game for the first time since 94. If you are only as faithful as your options, which Marcellus has taught me in this
Chris
life,
Rock said it, damn it.
the Browns got to be faithful.
I love the fact that you got this mindset where you let your past.
The Browns got to be faithful to Baker Mayfield. And without going into a whole bunch of different excerpts, people, trust me when I say Emanuel Acho 100% supports Baker Mayfield getting his money. He supports it. He has just listed all of these quarterbacks and said, that you better be happy with what you have because Baker Mayfield, all these other quarterbacks that they've had haven't had the success as far as record-wise as Baker Mayfield, right? Kelly Holcomb took the Browns to the first playoff game, for the first playoff appearance that they had since coming back into the league. That was Kelly Holcomb. Derek Anderson took the Browns to a 10-6 record. Although they missed the playoffs, they were 10-6. They won 10 games. That Derek Anderson did that. None of those other quarterbacks who he listed who played with the Browns, none of them lined up in the offensive system with Nick Chubb, Hunt, and at the wide receiver positions, Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry. And at the tight end positions, David Njoku, and even the guy Brent Hooper, who they got this year. None of those other quarterbacks had that plethora of weapons. They just didn't have them. Yet Kelly Holcomb was able to take a team to the playoffs, and Derek Anderson took him to a 10-6 record. Neither of them had these offensive weapons. So let's just get that out there. But we support Baker Mayfield getting his money. He was taken in the same draft as Lamar Jackson. He was drafted number 1 overall. He was drafted to a team that had so much cap space and made a wonderful trade that they were able to get a lot of weapons around Baker right now in his first 3 years. In his third year, he did take him to the playoffs. He did do that. But I would argue, just like Kirk Cousins, all those weapons around you. Kirk Cousins made it to the playoffs as well. You've got those kind of weapons around you, you should make it to the playoffs. When you've got Odell Beckham Jr. on one side, Jarvis Landry on another side, 2 decent tight ends, one is a beast in my opinion, and David Njoku in the red zone, and you've got 2 horses behind you, you should absolutely make the playoffs. A team should fear you on offense when you have those weapons around you. Baker Mayfield almost missed the playoffs. He did that. Baker Mayfield has not won any division title since he's been in the league. Baker Mayfield has not won he did lead the league, set a rookie record for touchdown passes thrown, but I'd also like to point to how many turnovers Baker Mayfield has had since he's been in the league. Very erratic young quarterback. Again, these are just facts. They support these guys getting their money. Let's see how they feel about Lamar Jackson getting his money. All right, Emanuel, let's see what you say. Let's see how you feel about how should the Ravens feel about giving Lamar Jackson his money.
Plan right now.
Everyone watching Marcellus, woosah. Because I'm going to say some truths that may concern you, that may hurt you. Yes, there should be concerns about committing to Lamar long term.
Wow.
Not because Lamar Jackson is not one of the most electrifying players in the National Football League. Not because Lamar Jackson is not one of the best passers outside the pocket a year ago. Not because Lamar Jackson is not the most prolific runner we've ever seen at the quarterback position. But the concerns should come because of the question, can you win with Lamar's style of play? Everybody lately I've seen compared to Lamar to Giannis, but you know me, I don't like to be lazy. I think about Lamar Jackson as I think about Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook will sell a ton of tickets. Russell Westbrook will be one of the most electrifying players year in and year out. Russell Westbrook will do things the game of basketball has never seen before. 3 consecutive seasons averaging a triple-double over the course of the season. Russell Westbrook won an MVP. But is Russell Westbrook's style of play too limited to win a championship? That's the question. Lamar Jackson, a unanimous MVP. Do not take that away from him. I won't. But is Lamar Jackson's style of play too limited to win a championship? Marcellus, I got to look at you for this. Because I came up finally. Every now and then, a stat is just a number, but sometimes a stat is a conversation. Sometimes a stat means everything. Big dog, I deduced this one with the help of the team. Mind blown. Marcellus, Lamar Jackson isn't a running quarterback. I'm not going to say that. But we've never seen, like I said, he's not a running quarterback. But we've never seen a quarterback who's a better runner than passer win a Super Bowl. Now, people bring up the likes of Steve Young. People bring up the likes of Russell Wilson. People bring up the likes of Aaron Rodgers. But let me give you the math to support the point. Okay. Russell Wilson, the year he won the Super Bowl, he ran the ball 6 times. He passed the ball 6 yards for every 1 rush. Steve Young, the year he won the Super Bowl, he passed the ball 13 yards for every 1 rushing yard. Aaron Rodgers, the year he won the Super Bowl, passed the ball 11 yards for every 1 rushing yard. Lamar Jackson, over his first 2 years, Marcellus, averages 2.4 passing yards for every 1 rushing yard. So we've never...
Let me stop it right there, people, because as you see, this is, and again, trust me, this is the national media's overwhelming feeling on Lamar Jackson. Oh, we shouldn't pay him top money. He should not get that kind of contract. Because as the national media, and not Emanuel Acho's words, but the national media's words, if any of you just scour the internet, you'll see it. Is Lamar Jackson's style sustainable? Remember those words. What about, with his style, he'll be injured. You can't pay a quarterback with that type of style because they're going to get injured. He's not worth the money because he has, as Emanuel Acho has said, 2.4 yards per pass different from his rushing yards. And he brought up Steve Young and he brought up Russell Wilson and say that theirs were higher. Did any of either of those 2 quarterbacks rush for 1,000 yards? Because let's keep it in context, people. It would be different if Lamar Jackson only rushed for as many yards as Steve Young or only rushed for as many yards as Russell Wilson and had the same difference in passing yardage above, you would have an argument. You'd have a valid argument. You'd say, look, he's running just like Steve Young. He's running just like Russell Wilson, yet they've thrown the ball exceedingly better. The difference is neither of those 2 quarterbacks eclipsed 1,000 yards ever, because there's only been one other to do it. Only been one other one to do it. So neither of those 2 have ever done that. How in the world can you run for 1,200 plus rushing yards and then throw for 13 yards above that? Does anyone have any idea of the astronomical amount of yardage that player would have to account for? You'd have to throw for like 45 to 5,000 yards passing while rushing for 1,200 yards. Like, these are human beings, people. These are not Madden video game characters. They're human beings. They have this thing called fatigue, called real life wear and tear that you just can't that's not possible. Let's just get that out there. That's not possible. But again, Carson Wentz has always been injury prone. I'd rather gamble on that. Lamar Jackson has suffered no real injuries in his NFL career. He had 1 concussion in his last game played in the playoff game in the 3rd quarter. 1 concussion, and we all saw the play. So let's not make this one of those concussions where Lamar Jackson just was doing a natural football play, okay, and got concussed because he got knocked out. That's not what happened. He had a ball snapped 25 yards over his head. When he went back to go retrieve the ball, someone was bearing down on him, Again, the ball was snapped 25 yards over his head. The defensive player had that far to run to gain his momentum to then tackle him, and causing his head to hit the hard surface, he got a concussion. That's his only injury in the NFL. He had another injury that was reported as like a thigh contusion, which is basically like a bruise or deep bruise in your thigh, and he came out the next game and destroyed the Bills after that injury. So that injury I don't even think was a real injury. Nevertheless, Carson Wentz has been injured every single year he was in the league except last year when he had his worst year ever of his career. The only year he played the full season, he had the worst season of his career. So we were okay with giving him money. We were okay with giving all of these other quarterbacks money. Yet, only with Dak Prescott and Lamar Jackson did we have concerns with paying them. Why is that? None of these quarterbacks that I've put up here today, not one of them has accomplished more in their careers as Dak Prescott or Lamar Jackson. Not one of them. None of those quarterbacks can say that they were the quarterback for the full season while their team won 2 division titles. None of them quarterbacks can say while winning 2 division titles, they also won Rookie of the Year. None of those quarterbacks have ever been MVP of any type, much less unanimous MVP, other than Lamar Jackson. None of those quarterbacks have set NFL records other than Lamar Jackson. Now, I will say, Baker Mayfield set a rookie passing touchdown record. That's it. But they haven't done these things in conjunction with the other accomplishments that Dak Prescott and Lamar Jackson have had. None of these quarterbacks have had their teams playing miserably while they weren't on the field other than Lamar Jackson and Dak Prescott. Remember, Lamar Jackson's first year, he took over a team that was 4-5 outside the playoffs looking in, appeared to be dead in the water. He ran off 6-1 record the rest of the way to a division title and a playoff berth. None of these other quarterbacks can say they've done anything of the sort. But yet, we're comfortable and confident in paying those other quarterbacks. We're not comfortable and confident in paying Dak. We're not comfortable and confident in paying Lamar Jackson. I ask you all, why is that? Because people come at me and they say, Lamar Jackson can't do this and he can't do this. You're just a homer. I'm showing you people the real. Because when I watch this game, I trust my eyes. You're not going to tell me that Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, Baker Mayfield, or definitely Kirk Cousins can even hold a torch to Dak Prescott or Lamar Jackson. They can't hold a torch to those guys. Those guys are ballers. Both of those guys exemplary off the field. Both of those guys extremely humble. And is it a coincidence that both of those guys were late round draft picks? One was late in the first round. One was in the 4th round. Kirk Cousins was in the 5th round, but we all wanted him to make his money. But we don't want Dak to make his money. We don't want Lamar to make his money. We want to talk about Lamar's durability issues that he's never had, ever. Like not in college. Remember, you heard it right here on this video. They even went back with Carson Wentz and said he had a stress fracture in his back. The core of your body. Your back is the core of your body. These limbs don't do nothing without the back. And he had a stress fracture in his back in college. Lamar Jackson has never had any injuries of real concern. I mean, you could talk about the concussion if you want. You could talk about an ankle sprain in college if you want that he continued to play with. So why are we worried about the durability of Lamar Jackson when it comes to giving him his money when he has rushed the ball more than any other quarterback in the league? He has led the league in rushing from a quarterback perspective twice and ran for 1,000 yards twice. Let me let you people understand something. There's never been an NFL quarterback in NFL history to run for 1,000 yards in back-to-back seasons. Lamar Jackson has been top 10 in NFL rushing, period, including running backs, 2 straight years. Yet, we're worried about his durability? Can you be more durable than that? Can you be more durable than that? To have played 3 full seasons in the NFL and put up those kinds of numbers? That's durability. That's the epitome of durability. That's the guy I want to pay because he's done it. I'm not wondering, can he do it? I've seen him do it. But we don't want him to get paid. I wanted to show you all this because when people say that Lamar Jackson shouldn't get his contract for these reasons, I got to show you how it doesn't make sense. The national media talks out both sides of their mouths. For certain guys, we gamble on the durability. For certain guys, we're okay with them not winning because they didn't have this or didn't have that. Lamar Jackson has no bona fide number 1 wide receiver. Period. Lamar Jackson, by the way, plays on the team that's top 10. They're actually 6. Top 10 in dropped passes. People say Lamar Jackson's not accurate. Lamar Jackson has a career completion percentage of 64%, which is exactly the same career completion percentage as Tom Brady. And I've showed people this in previous videos. 66% is league average. So why are we talking about he's not accurate? Yet Carson Wentz was said to be elite accuracy. He's never hit 70%. That's elite. Like 66, 66, 65, 64, 67. That's around league average. So you're not elite, you're average. 70 and up is elite. Drew Brees has been an elite accurate passer. He just has. Now, I don't care about if you want to say his deep ball isn't there. He's been an elite accurate passer. These other quarterbacks are league average type accurate passers. There's some other guys who've hit 70, and I say that they're elite. But you can't tell me that Kirk Cousins is accurate, that Baker Mayfield is accurate, that Jared Goff is accurate, and Lamar Jackson has to get better when he's consistently been average in the NFL. His MVP season, he was at 66+% completion. Again, he's led the league in passer rating from the pocket. Why is it this sentiment that he has to get better passing? He wasn't 2, he wasn't 3, he wasn't 4 from the pocket, which is what we say is the negative about a mobile quarterback is can they win from the pocket? From the pocket a year ago, Lamar Jackson led the entire NFL in passer rating from the pocket. He led the entire NFL in passing touchdowns, and he followed it up with although not leading the league, he followed it up with 20+. So let's not act like this kid can't get it done. He's been getting it done. He's always got it done. The national media people, that's who my beef is with. Trust your eyes. Now, I'm going to keep showing you this stuff until you people start to understand, and I'm not talking to all of y'all, I'm talking to those haters, till you start to understand that my points are valid. This stuff has got to stop, and I, along with others, are going to make it stop. We're going to try our best to. I'm going to keep putting the evidence out there so that you people can trust your eyes and stop believing the lies. This is Regular Ravens fan. Yet another video to show you that the national media has nothing but hate. It's not real analysis. It's not true depictions of these players. It's either I'm going to hate on you or I'm going to build you up. Doesn't matter what you're really doing. And that's what we should be focused on. We should be rewarding people in all walks of life by the production that they give us, not based upon how we feel about them. Because when it was Kirk Cousins, you were like, well, his personality is good, so let's pay him millions of dollars. But when we see the excellent personalities of a Dak Prescott, the excellent personalities of a Lamar Jackson, who both of these guys have had numerous chances to take their shots back, they restrain. They just speak the right way. They say the right things. They're both all about team. They're never about I, never about me. Both of those guys are about team. They give their props to their fellow teammates. And both of those guys, Dak Prescott and Lamar Jackson, their locker rooms love them. The players that play with them love them. So let's just keep it a buck when we talk about these NFL players and whether or not they should get paid. This is Regular Ravens fan. I hope you all enjoy what I'm bringing you. I hope you all understand that I'm trying to bring you all facts because I trust my eyes and I apply that to what I see on the field. Regular Ravens fan, I'm Ravens for life. We out here.